All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'll try to keep this quick as far as the introductions and the overview of Crawford software. So I just wanted to say again, thank you everyone for attending. Hopefully we'll be able to have a nice webinar, explain the order to cash process, and answer any questions you might have at the end of it all. So just to bring you with a little bit of background about Crawford software, we've been founded in 2001. We have a national consulting practice. We average about a little over 35 consultants across the country. We've been a partner with Epicor for the last 9 years. We have a lot of successful implementations and upgrades, both Vista, Vantage, 8, 9, 10, multiple releases across, Progress, SQL Server, go through it all. Our consulting team, we average about 20 people right now in the States and about 15 offshore. We have certifications across the board in all of the functional and all of the technical areas. So our entire team is certified in Vista, Vantage, Epicor 9, Epicor 10, and we're currently going through our 10.1.6 certifications for the entire team just to make sure that we're always current and moving forward. Okay, our services include implementations, upgrades, new modules, new add-ons, something if you decide to do Manifest or one of the other new products that are coming out and the improved products. We also do training. Our training is customized to not just deliver the standard out-of-the-box training, but adapt to your business process, use your data, make it a worthwhile training engagement for everyone that's out there. Business process reviews just to make sure you're using the system and the software the best that it can be. Same with the best business practices review. We want to come in and make sure that you've spent a lot of time, effort, and money to implement Epicor. We want to make sure you're using it properly and getting the best out of it, both information, data accuracy, and reporting. We've also got a team that can be dedicated for performance tuning, help with that SQL Server. Everything else is adjusted and going through it. Of course, we have a full team for customizations, programmings, enhancements, and other objects as far as the technical side. We're also developing our own standard solutions for Epicor to enhance functionality, put a little bit different functionality into it, such as the inspection processing. We've moved that down to the part master level and at the plant level. It's one of the other ones that we've done as far as being able to just give it a little bit more flexibility than the standard product offers. Same as with product lifecycle management is another we have that allows you to control what can be happening with the part master from the very beginning to the very end of its life and going through that. All right. Again, trying to go through this a little quick so I'm not keeping everyone bored. I know you really want to come to see the demo and go through the software. We have a deep expertise in as far as both the technical and the functional. Our team averages 15 years of ERP and ERP consulting across multiple industries, across multiple products, make to order, engineer to order, everything that's out there. The team is all cross-trained, so we have both technical and functional skills. I myself started as a technical programmer before I started working in the functional development and other areas there. We maintain in-house versions of all of Epicor, so the team is always current and constant working with it. We have a Vista all the way back to Vista 6 and Vantage 6 installed on our internal servers, so we can accommodate any of our customers that we run and work with and help them get up to the most current release. And since we started in 2001, over 90% of our customers have come back and continued to work with us. We have customers that have actually been with us since before 2001 when we were just an independent consultant before the company started. All right. Okay, and with that, I'll turn it back over to Peter, who can cover up the Epicor side for us a little bit.
Great, thanks, Steve. So I'm Peter Leap. I'm the Territory Manager for New England for Epicor, and I'm just going to spend a few minutes, excuse me, talking about the value that Epicor can bring to the table. So around the ERP solution, you really have 5 key principles that Epicor takes off the table for you, whether it's making sure that your users of the system can collaborate and don't have to be hopping in and out of different applications or rekeying information, or it's to mobility. As we get more and more mobile, people are using phones and tablets and the like and needing access to the system outside of the building, to simplicity, knowing that we just have to be able to make the product easy to use, whether it's for the executive team or whether it's for the shop floor worker. The product has to be simple, has to have an intuitive user interface, to being fast and responsive, or just even handling the need to go to the cloud, as is at some point Epicor users are either on-premise or hosted or in a SaaS cloud, and you have that option while still having the same high-power ERP product. And I guess another interesting piece about Epicor is it's a completely embedded system, and so all of the different modules are available to you. So you can take an approach that allows you to start with the components that you need in your business, and as business requirements change over time, as Steve mentioned, it's easy to then add on and implement additional capabilities to map your business as your business grows, whether that's project management or advanced scheduling or advanced financials or HCM and human capital or field service. All those things are available to you in the comprehensive Epicor ERP platform. And so just a quick overview of Epicor. So by the simple numbers, Epicor has approximately 20,000 customers, almost 4,000 employees, with customers spread across 150 different countries, and currently at approximately $1 billion in annual revenue. It really has the stability to help you have a solution, not just today, but well into the future, supporting you not just with a stable platform, but one that continues to grow and provide enhanced functionality as the global and local business requirements change. And gives you the ability then to support as you work with different offshore requirements or setting up business entities in Asia or in Europe. Epicor provides a support and services across the globe with, as I mentioned earlier, deployed in 150 plus countries, but the ability to support 30 plus languages, and to provide the country-specific functionality that should be required in those countries. So it gives you the flexibility and the confidence that you'll be able to meet global requirements as they occur. And then lastly, just we have a very sharp focus, and so we have products in services and retail and distribution and manufacturing, but in manufacturing alone we have 5,500 customers. So you really have the confidence that you will be able to solve your manufacturing challenges and problems and needs with the Epicor suite of products. Right, with that, we'll hand it off to Charlotte to begin our demo.
Okay, so I will restart my whole little Epicor demo then. So what you're currently seeing here is my Epicor home screen. What I'll do today is I'll explain to you how I'm going to navigate really quickly, and then we'll walk you through that quote to cash kind of flow. So that being said, again, this is my Epicor home screen. When I log in with my user ID and my password, this is what I arrive at, and I've personalized this to myself. I am set up in what we call a system administrator kind of role, and that means I have access to anywhere and everything. This is not the typical end user's home screen. A more typical end user will see a lot less tiles on their home screen. And that brings me to what exactly is you're seeing. This is called a tile view. Within Epicor, a tile has two functions. It will either take you somewhere or tell you something. Today I'll mostly be working out of my favorites tiles, and you'll notice there are two different tiles we have there currently. These are what we call individual tiles and tile groups. If we take a look at these three in the bottom right hand, these are those individual tiles. So these are the screens I utilize most often, and these are maybe my dashboards, or in this case, my access to my general ledger. So again, these are the screens I use most often, so I want them to have them quickly and readily available to me. However, again, I mentioned that I'm a system administrator, so I need to go into multiple other places. Now, as you can see, some of us have a little bit of rectangular love in this particular situation, so I've set it up so that I've also got these tile groups. That means my screen isn't necessarily so cluttered, but I have access to more screens by putting them in these tile groups. This is very much like on a smartphone when you group together applications into a tile. I'm doing the same thing here, but you're just seeing me doing it with ERP functionality instead. On this left-hand side, these are going to give me access to different areas inside and outside of the system. As you can see, I can get access to my Epicor webpage. We can also give us access to email programs, so that way, for those that are always in and out of their email, we can add it to their home screens, making it quick and easy to get access to. And if you're based in somewhere with a more tumultuous climate, like here in Minneapolis, we also give you access to things like a weather website, so you can keep an eye on whether the blizzard or the storm is coming. We also have a list of the recent forms, so these are going to be the screens I've most recently been in, so that way if I forget a checkbox or need to add some additional information to a record, that screen will be in this list of screens I've most recently been in, so I can quickly jump in and finish off editing that information. And finally, just to round out this grouping, this is going to be a tile that tells me something, and this is what we call a business activity query tile, or BAQ for short. Essentially what it's doing is I am querying information from my system and displaying it in a tile. I don't have to get access to a report, I don't have to even open up a dashboard, and I've got some of those relevant KPIs right on my home screen for me. So here we're seeing this year's customer sales, so what I want to look at is basically the dollar value that my customers are spending with me, and I've got it in this one tile, which I can scroll through to see different customers. Finally, there's this last grouping on the right-hand side, and these are going to be my more generic Epicor tiles. We're going to have the main menu, which is basically a Windows Explorer kind of view of the menu structure within Epicor, for those that are just more comfortable in that kind of view. We also have the settings tiles, and this is where you can mess around with your layouts, save layouts, get rid of my horrible color scheme if you so desire. And finally, we have the help tile. And the reason I bring this up is because there is a very robust help system within Epicor. We have application help where you'll be able to find a definition for all of the features within Epicor, user guides and technical reference guides. We also have embedded education where you will be able to actually create or take classes on the different areas of the Epicor system as well. And finally, we have field help. Field help will actually give you definitions of a field in a screen. So maybe you have someone new doing your sales order entry. They don't necessarily know what the terms field is for. Well, by giving them access to the field help, they are able to see the definition for that field and find out why they need to use it. And the final thing I want to discuss on the screen is the Epicor Social. So this is a collaboration tool within Epicor that is going to allow me to see information from the system, like whether or not a large discount has been assigned, whether or not something has been packed and shipped. So giving me information from the system right on that screen as well. The final feature of the home screen that I want to discuss is one of the search features we also have within Epicor. And this is something we call Enterprise Search. This is essentially going to be Google for my ERP system. This is going to be extremely helpful if customers are calling up asking questions about orders, shipments. So say for example, my customer, Andrew Addison, calls up. I can enter Addison in the search panel, and it's going to bring back all of the different record types associated with that particular keyword. So you're going to see I have customer records, contact records, invoices. However, we need a way to filter this down. So what Epicor has done is it's created this tag cloud. So these tags are essentially filters, and even these tags give us a little bit of information as well. The larger the font, the more record types we have. So here we see I have more orders and invoices with Andrew than I do cases and calls. So business is not that bad with them. I can then click on one of these tags, and now I'm filtering everything associated with that word Addison right onto this one page in regards to orders. So here I'm seeing just the sales orders associated to Addison. We can keep it in this classic view where it's giving me just a summary of each record, or we can also switch it to a grid view. And these grid views are prevalent throughout Epicor, and what you'll notice is it looks very similar to something that a lot of us utilize today, that Excel grid view kind of functionality. And very much like Excel, we can move these columns We can do group by features, summaries, filters, and not only that, any of those manipulations we do within these grid views, we can copy all of this information to Excel and it will keep that kind of grid view manipulation as well. So allowing you to do a little further dive into that information. So now I have all of my customer sales orders. I have a way to maybe filter it down a little bit. Maybe Andrew can give me his shipment information, his part ID, any of that information that I could possibly want. Preferably, it would be the sales order number, but if he's anything like me with my internet account number, he has absolutely no idea what it is. So he can maybe give me his PO number. And luckily for me, he tells me his PO, and now what I've done is I've utilized those two keywords, a PO number and a name, and a filter, and I've gotten down to this one single record. So when customers call you up asking you for information, it's a really quick and easy way to get you access to that information. And you'll see me doing this a lot today, but if I wanted to drill down and get even more granular on this particular record, I could right-click on this record and it brings me some context options. So it knows I can either go to a sales order entry screen, a sales order tracker, or a status dashboard. It will only let me do that based on my security rights. So something I should mention is that the Epicor security rights within the system are from the modular down to the field level, so we can get really robust with your security rights or really granular. It's whichever you want to do. So that's a little bit about how I'll be navigating through our Epicor today. I'll be using a series of these tile views and that right-click drill down capabilities. So with that in mind, what I'll do is I'll actually start and go through the actual quote to cash transactions. And to do that, we'll actually start in my sales and CRM favorites, in my opportunity and quote screen. So this is going to be where I can start entering quotes, and we have the ability to handle multiple different types of quotes. This can be a quote for a part that you've never quoted before, or it can be something within your system already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this quote, and I'm going to use a series of keyboard shortcuts. You can use the mouse and use the standard toolbar to add new records. However, we also have the ability within Epicor to personalize these screens by adding these keyboard shortcuts, and these are individual to each user. So I can press Control-N in this situation and start a new record. We can bring in that previous customer, Addison, and it'll bring that sold to, bill to, and ship to information. So you're going to notice 3 different capabilities on addresses there. Furthermore, if necessary, this particular customer is also allowed to use one-time shipments. So maybe we ship it to a location we never usually ship for them, but we have that capability here. So I can add a new line, and you're going to notice that grid view in the bottom again. And so what I did is I'm pressing Insert to start that new line. I can start typing in maybe a part record I know. So in this case, we'll use the DCD. If I don't necessarily know the part number, but I know a portion of it, I have this chevron that allows me to do some predictive type of searching where I can see all of the different records associated to that part number. So we'll take that DCD 100 SP frame rail. And it's going to bring in the description and also a unit price for me. So this one has some established unit prices. So maybe they tell me they're expecting a quantity of 10. The unit price of that is currently $44.16. Well, maybe they tell me, you know what, actually we're expecting about 100. And so what you notice is that the unit price drops to $42.84. So a way we can set up actual quantity breaks within the system. So this is where we can give different pricing based on the quantity that a customer is purchasing. So that's one way we can handle some of the more standard parts within the system. At this point, the quote could simply be done. It's that easy, just entering some customer information and some line information. We also have the ability, I mentioned, to actually do something we call part on the fly. So part on the fly is where we have the ability to actually do some design and engineering at the quote level in order to help with some costing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter a part that we don't have in our system currently. So we'll call this Crawford for today. And what you're going to notice is no description comes back. This part isn't in my system. So we'll call this Crawford part. They're expecting maybe 10 of these. And notice that there's no unit price. We haven't done any design, we haven't done any engineering, so we have no way to do some costing. So how we can do some design is by actually defining the manufacturing details at this particular part. So I'm going to bring in a manufacturing details for this part. I want you to think of this more as a template. How are we going to build this? What materials do we need? So I'm right-clicking, and I'm going to get some details. I can bring in a method we previously have already designed, so maybe this is similar to something you already have in your part master, but with just a slight difference. Or we can do this from a quote or a previously quoted item. So we'll use that DCD 100SP as the base. And what you're going to notice is that there are a couple of revisions. One is approved, one is not. We can only utilize those approved revisions. These are what my engineers have come in and said that the bills of materials and the routings are good and established. So we only have the ability to utilize revision B. So I'll just click OK. And what you're going to notice is in that manufacturing details tree, it's going to bring in my operations and my materials. So here I can see we're going to shear this, notch this, form it, and we're using some stainless steel. So this is a single level bill of materials. Epicor does have the capability to handle those more complex multi-level bills of materials. And you'll see we can handle that with our subassembly capabilities. So maybe based on a drawing or based on an email a customer sent to me, they want this part, but they need it built with a different material. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click and delete this material. And then what you'll notice is we have this engineering tab. So this is where we can bring in all our parts, all of our operations to help with the design. So I'm just going to select all my parts. And then we can use this part search as a way to filter information. So maybe I need something with that stainless steel, but I needed a different weight. Maybe it was this 036 that I needed. I can drag and drop this now on my tree. And what you noticed was me dragging and dropping at the material. This can be done at the operational levels as well. Additionally, we can also take into consideration some of those keyboard shortcuts like Control and Shift and drag and drop. If we select Control and select multiple options, it will drag based on the order in which you clicked as well. So a way we can utilize that to quickly and easily update your manufacturing details. So I can define some information at this quote details level for this material. We'll see this part. And then we can specify how much I think we'll need. So maybe I think I'll need half a sheet for this particular item. If I decided I wanted to purchase directly for this particular item, we have the ability to establish it here as well. And also we can even determine whether or not we need to create a request for quotes. These will then be communicated to my purchaser. So a way we can even get something moving at the quote level down to my purchaser. And that's again due to that embedded nature of the system. So after I've established some quote details, how I'm going to build it and what I need to build it, I can then utilize my worksheet to actually do some costing. So here I can see how much burden, based on those operations I've selected, how much labor and material I think we'll need. So with all of that taken into consideration, my markups and my commissions, it's telling me my suggested unit price with my commission is about $300. So you're noticing a few different colored fields, and that's something I should probably also mention, is that these are the difference between read-only and updatable fields. So the white are going to be the updatable fields. Typically, you wouldn't give your salespeople access to their actual commission percentages, but fortunately, this is my environment, so I get to have fun with how much I'm paid. But notice that these are gray fields, so these are read-only fields. Even me, with all the security rights in the world, can't update these fields. I can, however, update this quoted unit price, and we'll do it at $295. And now, when I go back to the summary sheet, you'll notice it's bringing in that $295 for the 10 of those at this part level. So we're able to do the design, the costing, all from this one quote. One way we can make sure people are actually on top of what they need to be doing is by utilizing these task lists. So what you can see is I've assigned a task set, and this determines what needs to be done in order to complete a quote. So in this situation, this is something you all can actually define. You define your own task sets. But here I can see I need to contact a prospect and that I need to generate those bills of materials and routings, and then we're waiting for quote acceptance. We can get down to the specific details about the person it's assigned to, whether or not we need to send alerts at creation and send alerts at completion, and also we can specify a task as mandatory. So that way we can't move through the task set until that mandatory step has been completed. So at that point, the quote can be done. I can say, just because of this is how I've established it, we've engineered this particular item, and then it's going to be quoted. And at this point, I have the ability to actually print the quote details. And what you're going to notice is I can print my form. So we have the ability with Epicor to email or fax directly from these screens, and you'll notice I'm hovering over that email or fax button. So a way we can save you a little bit of time by, instead of actually having to print out a PDF and attach it to an email or even snail mail, we can actually email it directly from the system. And I'm going to do a print preview of this PDF. So we use SSRS reporting, which means you have the ability to actually customize what these reports look like. What you're going to currently see is a pretty generic looking template of a quote. Again, you can customize these to more fit your business. So we'll see I have my address, the quote number, who we're quoting it to, bringing in my date and my default expiry date. We've got the first line where we're seeing each of the quantity breaks. So maybe upon seeing the quote, they see they can actually get a better price. So they're able to see that there. And also that part on the fly. So again, that part we've never entered in the system. And we're seeing a quantity of 1 at $295 in this situation. And additionally, we can also put a bit of those disclaimers at the bottom where you can see how much it's valid from, or even that sales and shipping or tax and shipping aren't included. So upon receipt of that quote, maybe the customer decides they don't want that particular part in the fly. So we have the ability, if the customer had accepted it, to take it through that order process, to take it through that work order process, ship it, and invoices without ever entering it into the part system. So a way we can really utilize that by transacting it all the way through, but not accumulating items in your part master that you use so rarely. At this point, my customer has come back, accepted the quote, so I can now go and create a sales order. So I have the ability to do what we call push into a sales order, so a way we can actually, from this quote screen, create a sales order, or from the sales order screen, I could actually pull a quote into that order screen. But either way, I'm not going to be writing that sales order. Epicor will be writing it for me. So we're going to go to this actions menus, and again, these are security driven as well, and we'll see I have this quote option. From here, I could close the quote. I can duplicate these quotes to easily update information, and I can also create my sales order. So what I'm going to do is, based on the customer's information for me, they told me that they needed it by the 17th, and they're going to give me their PO number, and what we'll do is we'll just use my initials and today's dates. If there was a discount, I could enter it here for them as well, and we can update any ship via or terms information. Now you'll notice I have these lines options and something considered order worthy. So this is going to specify what do I want to actually put on this sales order. So they came back and told me that $295 is a little steep for that particular item, so they're not bothered about that. But they will take that DCD 100 SP. So what I can do then is I can click Create. Epicor will now take that information I've just put in, that need by, ship by date, that PO number, and it will write that sales order for me. So I didn't have to reduplicate any of the information, I just had to update a little bit. I can then go to this related sales orders screen, right click, and I'm going to open that sales order entry screen now. So again, Epicor wrote that for me. I'm just right-clicking and drilling down into that new screen, and we'll see that updated information. We'll see one line on it for that customer, Addison. So now we're in that sales order entry screen. We're actually able to see how the technology of Epicor can really help you and your businesses through the ideas of visualization. What you're currently seeing is in this order quantity field, it's red. This is because of what's available and what's on hand. So it's telling me I don't have enough on hand or enough available to actually fulfill this order. So I'm going to need to create a work order for it. So here we'll see I have 5 on hand and 2 available. The difference between on hand and available is whether or not it's promised to something. On hand means physically within my system I have a record of 5 of these frame rails. However, maybe 3 of them have been promised to different sales orders, so I only actually have 2 available to use for this particular sales order. So we're going to have to go and create that work order. While we're on the subject of technology, I also want to bring up another tool that Epicor utilizes in order to actually streamline Epicor to your business. And this is what we call a business process management tool. So BPM for short, it's a way that we can have Epicor respond to your business logic. Essentially what we do is we create if-then statements. If event A occurs, then I want event B to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you utilizing a discount field. So essentially what it's going to be is I have a rule within my company that above 25%, I need to get managerial approval on a discount. So here we're going to see I have a discount. I can enter a discount of 10%. It's going to give me a yellow warning letting me know, hey, this is getting close. You should probably back off a little bit. But because it's Tuesday, it's sunny, I decide I'm going to blow through that and give them a 40% discount. And this is where that BPM tool kicks off. It's putting up this warning message letting me know I'm out of my mind. And it now turns this kind of ugly red, letting me know that this is really should not be happening. Well, I'm going to try and save this off anyway. And what's going to happen is now again that BPM is kicking in, letting me know, hey, this large discount request, and I need to enter the discount reason, and it better be good. Well, here in Minnesota, it's finally sunny, and I'm going to submit that approval request. It's going to tell me that the order has been submitted for that discount approval, and not only that, it's actually also placed the order on hold. So I would not be able to do anything because I do not have the ability to take this order off hold as a normal salesperson. Not only that, I need a way for my managers to actually know that this discount has been entered and that it needs approval. So if we go out to my email, what we're going to see is I'm going to see an email letting me know that this sales order has a discount above 25%, so approval is needed. We're going to see the requested discount percent and the reason that it's finally sunny. So as a manager, I have the option to go into that record in my Epicor system and actually update it and take it off of hold. Or I can also utilize Epicor's Everywhere framework where I'm able to utilize this Epicor web access option. So maybe we're not necessarily in the office. Maybe I am at my home and I need to update this information for my salesperson. Epicor web access is Epicor, it's just through the web. So we're going to see it's just going to look slightly different. It's going to look, what I like to say, a little more webby. And we'll be able to actually update that information and take that order off of hold. So we'll be able to look up that sales order, 5613. And you're going to see it looks very similar. It has the same fields. It's just in this more web kind of view. So I'm going to update that discount percent to 15. And because I have the ability to, I'm now going to go and take this order off of hold and save this record. So I can close out, and now going back in as that role as that normal sales order person, I can go and refresh this record, And we're going to notice that that order has been taken off of hold, and that discount has been changed to 15%. So a way we can really utilize the technology that Epicor provides to streamline Epicor to your business and your business rules. If we need a way to track all of that information, we also have what we call change logs as a way to track all of those changes that are occurring throughout the system. Now that that sales order has been entered, it's been given that discount of 15%, I know that I need to go and create a work order for it. So we're going to slightly shift gears into that kind of manufacturing view. I'm going to save off that record, making sure I save it correctly. And we're going to go into something we call Planning Workbench. So this is one of the first workbenches we'll see. Epicor utilizes workbenches throughout the system in a way to allow people to easily access their information all from one screen. So we're going to go into what we call a Planning Workbench. This is where I can see all of the new demand within my system. So I have this filtered up to just see the new demand. This is where we could also see if we needed to postpone a work order or change it. That can all be seen from this one screen. But you can also personalize the information that loads within these screens as well. In this case, I mentioned the ability to auto-load all my new type. So here we'll see that record we just created for that DCD 100 SP for 10 of them for Addison for that sales order 5613. So what I can do is I can just create my work order or create my job. I'll just bring in the next job numerically within my system. And from here, I can actually do a lot. I can get my details. So this is going to bring in my approved manufacturing method. I can schedule it and release it all to the shop floor within this screen as well. So what I'll do is I'll create that job. And now Epicor will actually write that work order for me, bring in those bills of materials and routings for me. So I'm not really writing anything again. I'm just telling it what to do. And Epicor is going to write it for me. This will reduce a lot of those reduplication errors that can sometimes occur from manual movements and manual copies. So here we'll see my work order, in this case for 2414 for my frame rail. We'll see the demand summary. So what actually is the demand for this work order? And again, we'll see the operations and the materials for this particular work order. We'll also see the dates for this particular work order. So we'll see that if I start it today, I'll be able to finish it by the 16th and get it to them by the 17th. We can also view the schedule in kind of a Gantt chart kind of view. So if we go to the schedule view, you're going to see I have a shop scheduling board. So this is where I'll have the ability to see what the actual schedule is and also a what-if kind of view. So I'm just auto-loading that 2414 kind of view. If we take a look at this schedule, here you're going to see I can look at it by the individual work order, or I can also break it down to the specific work centers. So here I'm able to actually expand it, and we're able to see any move time, queue time, and how long those particular operations will take. We'll also notice it's going to take into consideration my production calendars. So maybe you don't work on the weekends. Well, we can set it up so that it will take that into consideration when scheduling these work orders. Now, I also mentioned that what-if capability. So you're going to notice two different colors here. The yellow is that what-if, so it's going to give me the ability to move and see what if I do move it out, what if I start it a bit later. So I'm thinking maybe I should start this one Friday, and I want to move all my operations as well. What you're going to notice, it doesn't let me because it won't allow me to try and schedule it late. There we go, I just need a moment to think. So now we'll notice that it's actually letting me know that it's going to be red. It's taken into consideration that production calendar again, knowing that I can't go past that Friday, and that my outside vendor heating treatment will take a specific length of time as well. So what I can do then is I can undo all the changes and say, you know what, actually I'm going to stick with that original schedule that I had. From here, we also have the ability in this job entry screen to print a job traveler. So if we go to this actions menu again, here we'll see I have this print option, and we can print a job traveler. Epicor has the ability to utilize that paper kind of flow that some people just genuinely like, but we can also go paperless. So I'm going to show you a job traveler, but just keep in mind we can do this in a paperless kind of view as well. So I'm going to print a barcode so that way I can actually use my scanning machine to actually take records for this particular work order as well. So it's going to print out all of the operations I need and the raw materials. So here I'll see my raw material components that I need to pick, what warehouse I should be pulling it from, and the operations description, and can even include fields to have operational text of completed by. So now that that work order has been released to the shop floor, what I'm going to do is I'm going to slightly shift gears, and we're actually going to go into what we call a manufacturing execution system in order to transact against this particular work order. So we're going to close out of this planning workbench, and we're actually going to go to my desktop. And what you're going to notice is I'm going to go into this MES kind of view. So again, that's a manufacturing execution system. It essentially means shop floor terminal. I can clock in with my ID, so we can read these as barcodes as well. I'm just utilizing my keyboard today. So we can enter my ID number. It will let me know what shift I'm a part of, my clock in and clock out times. Multiple people can use these at once, so they're not necessarily for one individual person. It can be set up in a work center area or maybe utilize one for the whole shop floor. It can work for you either way. So we're going to see I have different options from here. I have production, material, and shipping and receiving capabilities. These are the items I'll be utilizing the most, so this is where I can start my setup activity. So maybe we actually want to set up those machines and track how long it takes. So we utilize that job 2414. I can say I'm working on operation 10, and it's putting me onto my first shear. If there are any documents associated with it at the quote order or work order level or the part revision level, we'd be able to see these from this screen as well. So I can click OK, and now we're actually tracking the setup labor time. While he's setting up the labor, John is also running everywhere and issuing my material for me. So he's going to go and pull the material from my raw material warehouse for me and issue it to this work order, so create those inventory GL transactions. So we're going to issue the material. We can specify which job it's for, what material we're using, and where we're pulling it from. So I can say I'm pulling one sheet from my main warehouse from my bar stock bin in this situation. We'll see it's issued complete, and I can click OK. Now at this point, he happens to be done with his setup activity as well. So now we can end the activity. He can say he completed it 100%. If he needed to leave me any notes, we would be able to see these here as well. And I can click OK. So now the setups are done, he has the ability to do his production. So he's going to go actually produce items for this particular work order. So we're just going to clock into that job again, clock onto that operation, and again, any documents that needed to be seen could be seen, and click OK. So now we're actually producing items. He is there actually, in this case, shearing some of that stainless steel for me. And because he is a very efficient worker today, he's going to be done. But essentially what you're seeing is how quick and easy it is to utilize these screens to get information. This is more of a reactionary screen, whereas that office user kind of view is where we can actually go create those records. So I'm going to end the activity. He can specify how many he produced. So in this case, he produced all 10, and they were all good. We have the ability to record scrap quantities and non-conforming quantities from this screen as well. We can also specify the reasons that something maybe is scrapped or non-conforming. And we can click OK. We can then track actuals versus estimates to a particular work order. So what I'm going to do is, this is one of the first trackers that you're going to see, but a tracker is kind of a read-only view of an entry screen. So you're going to see it looks very much like that job entry screen we're using. So we'll look at that job 2414. We now have some visual cues on these operations. So here we can see a green check mark indicates that the operation is actually complete. we can also see these materials, and so that green check mark is indicating that that material is issued completely. If there was a red dot on an operation, it would let me know that that operation is actually overloaded and that we don't have enough capacity. If that red dot was on a material, that would know that that material is constrained and I don't have enough of it. So a way we can utilize those visual cues in that tree to let me know whether or not that work order is in jeopardy. So now I'm back in that Epicor screen. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go and ship out that particular work order that we've just been producing. So we're going to go into that supply chain side. And here we'll notice that I can see my PO suggestions, my receipts, but we're going to go and do a customer shipment. So from this customer shipment, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new pack. So we'll do a new pack, and I can say it was for order 5613. And again, these can be scanned and barcoded in this screen as well. So I can say we're shipping it to customer Addison, and that's also who we're selling it to. A really quick and easy way we can actually utilize Epicor if there are multiple lines on an order is using this mass shipment. So by clicking this mass shipment, I'm able to say everything that's associated to that sales order is shipping out. In this case, there's only going to be one thing, but really useful when you're shipping out multiple items at once. And I can say we're going to ship everything and update it. Now what I want you to notice is it's not pulling anything from my inventory. It knows it's shipping 10 from that manufacturing job 2414. So I don't have to put things into inventory and pull them out to ship them again. I can do it right from that work in process. So at this point, I could say it's shipped, and I could then actually invoice it. So what that shipped checkbox indicates is that it's ready to invoice. A way we can really, again, use that embedded feature within Epicor to communicate now with the financial side of it. From here, I could also print my packing slips and print my bills of ladings as well. So from that customer shipment side, I mentioned that it is ready to invoice. So I'm going to shift out of that supply chain view and go into that more financial view. And I'm going to go and actually create an invoice for it. So in this invoice entry screen, what you're going to notice is we can set up different kind of groups. So a group is essentially a workspace that is going to allow you to work on multiple invoices at once. It also means that if you have multiple people creating invoices, you won't have any reduplications. So for group purposes, I again use my initials and the period information for tracking purposes. I can say my invoice date and my apply date, and it's automatically pulling in my fiscal calendar. So my fiscal calendar is set up like the standard calendar, plus I have an adjustment period at the end, so giving me 13 periods over the year. And again, I mentioned this a fair amount, but due to that embedded nature, I can go to this action screen, get my shipments. So I don't have to rely on my shipping people coming and telling me what shipped. I can have Epicor help me with that as well. So I have the ability to just select everything that's been shipped for the day. However, due to the fact I have some demo data, I use a manual selection process. So here I'm able to see everything that is ready to invoice in this particular situation. We can see those PO numbers. So here we'll see that CKM 5917 that we created earlier on today. So I can say I want to get that, select it. It's going to ask if I'm sure. And I like to say, like all good accounting software, it's making sure I am ready with that information as well. Pretty cautious, like accounting software should be. It's going to let me know that one invoice is created. And it's going to bring in that information from that sales order for me as well. So again, very little reduplication efforts needed. We can go to that summary screen, who we sold it to. There we'll see that sales order number, so giving me that front to back and back to front traceability within the system, the PO information, and the terms that I entered on that sales order as well. If I'm comfortable with how that looks, I have the ability to go and look at my edit list within the group. So this is where I can see all of those GL transactions and make sure I'm hitting the right sales accounts and the right AR accounts. we will see that customers, after using the system a fair amount, will trust that we're going to hit those right GL accounts. So here we'll see I'm going to debit that accounts receivable and credit that sales fabricated. And because I have the security rights again, I have the ability to go and now post this entire group to my general ledger. We can print the invoices from here as well, email them directly, but in the essence of time today, what I'll do is I'll just go and post this entire group. We'll submit the process, and at that point, the entire group is now posted to that general ledger.
Thank you again, everyone. Just wanted to give a little feedback as far as one of our more recent projects where we did an upgrade and some enhancements and new module implementations for TechScan. Just a little quote that they gave us, the president. And wanted to leave you with our contact information on the next slide, if in case you have any questions or any follow-up. And my contact information is there, along with Steve Burns, who's here with me for the sales and marketing, along with Peter from Epicor. Feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any questions. We can also get back to you. You can send the presentation if you have any questions. But at this time, just want to check if there were any questions from the participants on the webinar. Sorry about that. Charlotte, did you open the chat, or did you have any questions, or Natalie?
Yeah, folks, the chat function is open, so if you do have questions, you can post them via the Q&A, or you can direct them to the panelists as well.
Oh, while we're waiting, if there's no questions coming in, I think one of the ones we get asked a lot is, how long is the upgrade process if you're currently running on an Epicor Vantage 8 or an Epicor 9 system or an Epicor 10? You know, how long is that process, and what timeline should be put in place both for the upgrade, for testing, and everything else? So typically running from a Vantage 8, if you're on a Progress system, that can take a little bit longer just because you might be doing the Progress to SQL Server conversion. When you're doing something from a 9, the actual conversion itself can take in the neighborhood of 10 to 12 hours. You're going to spend more time doing the estimation and determining how many customizations, reports you have, and enhancements you have, and how you want to upgrade and move those forward into the 10 environment. So typically what we would do with that is put together a very detailed list for you of all the modules and all the enhancements that have been put in place, give you time estimates, and start looking for, can those be replaced with standard functionality. But on average, if you're looking for a 9 to 10 upgrade, you want to plan a month or 2 months, and that's with doing some adequate testing, making sure you're doing a full order to cash, procure to pay cycle, and bringing it through all the steps and testing every one of the new features, taking advantage of some of the new functionality, the emailing and the built-in faxing features that are there now, along with other test cases to make sure none of your customizations and enhancements have caused any issues or haven't upgraded properly. That's a typical one we hear a lot as far as the upgrades. Was there any other questions coming in on the chat? Because I'm not watching it. I'm trying to behave.
I don't see any questions on my end.
Okay. I think we're just about on the top of the hour, which is when we were going to give everyone back their time. I think if there's no other questions or anything else that's coming from, do we want to go ahead and wrap up and close the call up?
I think so, yes.
All right. I want to thank everyone again for attending. If there's any questions or anything else we can help you with, definitely feel free to reach out to either myself, Steve Burns, or Peter at Epicor.